The views expressed here are those of the authors and do not in any way represent the views of Sophia TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition of Ladies First. I'm joined here by Sarah Russell and Isha. Assalamu alaikum. As we approach Muharram, we are obviously going into the mourning rituals and remembering, commemorating Imam Hussein and his followers. I just wanted to ask you, how important is it for us to have mourning rituals? We call them Azadari, in 2016. Is this still applicable? Is it outdated? And how do we think the youth benefit from this, Isha?
I think Azadari is very important because we keep alive the message of Karbala and lament of, behind what happened to the children and the ladies and Imam Hussein and his family in Karbala. So I think it is very important that we do have Azadari. As to how our youth feel engaged, I think it's how we do our Azadari. There's something that we call the 21st century Azadari these days, where we have youth taking actively part in different sorts of Azadari, like the march on at Mabalach and distributing water, Sabil and stuff. So spreading the message of Imam Hussein at different train stations and stuff, so that we're making the message of
by using the quotes, you mean at train stations? I've seen some So do you think it's still important, or should we just do that at home and just
No, you ask people who don't get to do Azadari, like I know there are people who can't mourn after Imam Hussein in certain countries, and when you ask them and they feel how much they miss it. We're very lucky that we're able to do it here. But ask people if it is important and they'll say how much they miss.
There's many ways, and now we can see in keeping and commemorating we think about the event of what happened in Karbala, and we can see now that there are plays as well that have become quite popular, so the youth are more sort of learning through the narratives, through there's a lot more creative process, and in a different sense, like that's always probably been around, but there's traditional ways too, but like from different cultures do different kind of forms of commemorating. But for me, I believe it's a time in this month to really reflect on what it is that we can gain from what we see as a great loss. But is it a loss really when we think the greatest thing we should recognise is our own loss if we are disconnected?
Have any of us had any experience, or have we ever felt embarrassed by it truly? Because there is this stereotype that Ashes, all we do is wave and mourn and go over the top in our expressions. And do we do this because we feel guilty, or is it a way of getting attention? So do you sometimes feel embarrassed by it?
I do.
Okay, explain.
Totally. Sometimes I wish I didn't go to certain events, and like things that happen in central London that are totally one language that no one understands, and I just feel like
just draws attention.
Yeah, we draw so much negative attention to ourselves, and we do compared to other sects and other religions, we do hardly any tabligh efforts. And then when we have a massive crowd that we can really utilize and make advantage of, we decide just to shout stuff in our own language.
Does anyone agree with that?
I would say there's definitely got some positive initiative places where we probably would least expect, but really actually more on a level where there's more spiritual teachings of things that we can really reflect on and actually apply in our lives. So it's a positive thing. We think about, okay, we're living in a time where we have the Yazids of today. We need to recognise them. We need to understand if we are we really following Imam Hussein, or are we one of those that just walk away when the lights are shut? And that's, I think, what we really cry about, is that we're one of them. And that's the reality. There's very few that truly follow the path of that have the sacrifice, learn from the sacrifices to uphold Islam. We're not really. Are we really doing that? Are we?
Do we feel that we're being disingenuous in the fact that we express our grief through tears and lamentation, and are we going over the top? Has it become like Christmas?
Yeah.
And that you
I think
has?
so. I've stopped going to Azadari things. I've totally moved away from it because I feel like it has come to a stage where that the feeling of Muharram has just become like it's one big carnival. Everybody's buying new bags, and women go out and get their hair done and stuff. And before, in women's majalis in our community, they go and they get their hair out, and then they take it's like a wedding but in black. It's literally. So I don't go to majalis, like I find them the opposite of spiritual. I come away exhausted and I just feel like I've taken nothing positive away from it.
But you can say that during certain times of Ramadan, and like the last 10 days, instead of finding peace in the masjid, you'll find like all the women talking, having, and it's like, well, I'd rather be, I might feel more peaceful at home by myself, secluded, rather than going to a public place. What are your thoughts?
I think adding on to what Sarah said, you don't have to go to masjids to be able to do your azadari. You know, as long as you're doing your azadari in your own way, and if you think going to a masjid helps you do it by tears, or staying at home and doing it, it's what's in you and your nafs.
If Imam Hussein was here today, what would he expect from us? Would he be pleased? Like, is it something that I believe, like, if he lived against a tyranny, his whole life was dedicated for Islam, and that's to uphold, for standing for justice. Are we doing that? I mean, that's the main thing, is probably what we should be thinking about.
I think it's important that we should never forget what had happened, because we're all here as Muslims because of that event, and people gave their lives. I think we should never forget.
But is it just us? Do we? Because we know enough. Yeah, we know enough about what's, and we remind ourselves every year. But then, is the message of Imam Hussein just for us? Are we only the ones to do our azadari? And then when we do the marches, and the march does not just. It involves a lot of other things. It's educating the public of who Imam Hussein was and what his message was, and what he stood up against.
Doing that now. It's in the curriculum now that they teach about Shia
But they
Islam.
can choose not to.
Is it?
They can choose.
Yes, my son's doing it now.
It's not obligatory. They can choose not to teach it. It's
because they're trying to show the other side of Islam.
But I mean, on a wider level, we're not using the opportunities that we have to our benefit. I mean, even if we didn't want to give out flyers on the day or draw, just to look more approachable would be a start. Do you know what I mean? To look more welcoming and not to look so, I don't know, aggressive and another thing, just moving on from your point that you mentioned, in different types of azadari, that's why I don't go to majalis anymore, because I feel like that wasn't beneficial for me. But what I do now is I hold little classes for children, and we teach them things through their play. We talk to them about Imam Hussein and what happened and things like that. And it's kind of my way of serving. Like, I feel if I go to a majlis, it just brings out bad in me, because I see other people's behaviour and things that I wouldn't expect, like, shouting and talking in the majlis and stuff, and it really gets on my nerves. So I just thought, I'm not taking part in that. I'm going to do something that I think is constructive.
Well, on the flip side, there are certain countries that you go to, and Muharram is like their Christmas. Everybody's involved, people that you wouldn't even expect, and it's almost like a cultural thing rather than a religious thing. And from my personal opinion is, I'm trying to be holistic in my approach. Would I prefer to see the youth engaged in something that is religious than not religious? But I'm like, these type of youth, in some parts of the world, it's become like a meat market. You're there because you're looking at other people, but then I try and think, well, where would they meet other people? Better to meet someone.
I grew up in a society where Muharram was a big deal. We have majalis in the morning for the ladies, and in the afternoon we had lunch for everyone, and then in the evening we had another majalis, and at night there was another majalis for both men and women. And I learned so much from attending those majalis for the 12 days. Each one was
different.
Each one
saying the same thing.
No, different. No, but we went. We learned how to listen to majalis and are doubtful listening to a majalis, and we served people. We were young girls who were so enthusiastic. We, during lunchtimes we used to give out plates and serve food to other people, and you learn so much from attending these majalis. And like Sister Sarah said, it is not just about lamenting and crying and everything. It's about the message of Imam Hussein and what else he has taught us.
I've noticed what you were going to, sorry to cut you off, but what you were saying about younger people or anybody looking at like a meat market, looking for a potential.
Or it looks like a Muslim rave someplace.
I find that the most disrespectful thing you could do at that time of year, because you're in contact, you're in a majlis and there's guys and girls and all that, but if you're going there to mourn the grandson of the Prophet, imagine if it was someone in your family and you'd notice someone, having eyes at someone else. It's so disrespectful. If you're going there to mourn, then if you don't want to be there, don't go. But to turn it into a dating place, and
also the mourning only happens when you're at mosque. Once you come out of the mosque, you live your life, like as if it's not Muharram.
Well, as I said earlier, some places are like a Muslim rave. And that's what you see on TV, and I even have to laugh sometimes because it's like, this is ridiculous. Well, can you see what you're doing?
I've noticed that, you're right, there's now these new sort of forms of recitation that's become meant to be appealing, but it does sound like it's something out of a club. Like you don't know if it's a party or if it's you don't know it. But the thing is, it's meant to. They think this is really cool. This is actually
it involves
really
the youth, but it's like
it's just to get them in. But then I think it's because there's a little opportunity sometimes to be openly, like in a circle where they can all have this kind of movement going on, when they're like, you're all together and you're all, there's something about congregation, I think, that's appealing. So whatever it's going to be, it doesn't matter. Everyone's on the same wave, and everyone. I think there's this element of people enjoy that somehow.
But it's not supposed to be appealing. It's supposed to be mournful. It's not supposed to be something.
I know you can appeal, though. Even mourning.
You want to go something like
it's going to be appealing.
Sorry to cut you off with my son's generation being in their teens, getting them to go anywhere is quite a challenge at this age. So you want to know that his friend is going and they're going to get something out of it. Now if the majlis is in Urdu, Iranian, Arabic, Turkish, whatever, and they don't speak those languages, or they lose the meaning of the words, or what are they benefiting from it? I think for my son, I was really concerned at a certain age because I wanted him to feel, the importance of Muharram. And of course, you rehash the story, but children need to conceptualize it. So it wasn't until we went to a certain place and they reenacted things, and they said this person was this age, this person was that age. So how old are you? Imagine you're going there. But he came out in tears. I was like, oh, well, what's wrong with you? And he said, because it could have been me. And it meant something to him. Whereas if I dragged him to a majlis where people are going over the top, he would think, it's like being at a football match at some places.
And that is why things like, what Sister Sarah said was, having plays to show them what actually happened on the day of Ashura, the exhibition that takes place in Cricklewood, you've got live, burning tents and, women lamenting, and that makes you get closer to the event itself.
Well, what I found really helpful as well when I was speaking to my son and his age group, and I was like, well, what do you really think? And he said, well, Mum, I know the story and I understand it, but we're dealing with it in a different time where, there's some of my friends, are worried about gangs and, what would you do in that situation? And some of my friends are worried about being pressured to be this and that. Can't we have a Muharram where we talk about things that matter to boys at our age? And what if you're from a mixed heritage and you don't speak the language? Where do we fit in culturally? Right. And I was really moved. I was like, well, what do you want to do about it? And he said, well, I'd like the children to be given a space where they can come up with their own ideas of how to serve. And he said, like giving water, or maybe invite a friend who isn't Muslim to come and see and relay the storybook, or just things that they deal with on an everyday level. So, if you do listen to music during that time, you don't, and why you're doing it. And I thought that meant more to me than, alhamdulillah, waving a flag or doing however you want to do it. And he said that's what I miss, because I feel like I'm being forced to do it. And I don't know the story, but it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Not in a horrible way, but I'm dealing with X, Y, and at that age, so many other issues. What does Muharram mean to me?
It has to connect, right? That's why I said, like, knowing, okay, one element is knowing the Yazid of our time, but another is actually understanding jihad. Like, we actually, we know, and we're living in a time where I can understand the pressures of people moving away from this sort of, you know, these traditions that we have, because there's this misconception of Islam, you know, being a religion that is quite, you know, it is
hard,
everybody's black, you know, but then so when you've got a lot of Muslims walking down, they say somewhere in London with black, and it sounds, everyone's sort of really, it looks like an aggression. It looks like we're going to war.
It does, so and it's us against them, so they think. So
this is the sort of like message that we're portraying without, and I think in a way Muslims find it sort of feeds the ego more so, and I find that's quite destructive in a sense. So we need to readdress the ways that we're actually approaching how we do commemorate.
I did say this to someone who's all for marches and all for doing like the message of Imam Hussein and everything in public and like openly in the middle of London, and I at the time I was totally against it. I said it doesn't give us a good image, and you know, just my personal opinion. And this individual said, but back home, like, we'd have a walk from Najaf to Karbala, or like, you know, something else that you could physically do. Here we have nothing. So to feel a sense of, not emotion, but something for you to do, like, you know,
reconnect.
Yeah. So they said
that's what Sister Sarah just said. You know, we think about, and I've never thought about it like that. We think about what we want to do, what our responsibility is, and how we show our love for Imam Hussein. But I've never thought about it like that. You know, other people that are looking at us do this, getting the message of Imam Hussein, or are they getting annoyed by us doing it? I mean, because if they are getting annoyed, then we're not really doing what Imam Hussein did. You know, we're not.
Honestly, I know that every year when it happens, the council gets so many complaints that the roads are shut, people are disrupted, people are complaining about the noise.
What do you think about it? When you think about Passion Plays, for example, in Italy, where they have, I think it's Easter or Christmas, where they have Christ, people reenacting Christ being on the cross, and it's quite dramatic visually. But who are the type of people that go to see that? There are people who follow that, you know, or think there's some benefit from it. Everybody else doesn't want to go and see that necessarily, because it's quite full on.
But the thing is that they are in the country, like Christianity is the religion of that country. We're not in a Muslim country, so we have to kind of be extra sensitive to what people perceive us as, especially now. Do you know,
I would actually say, to be honest, I believe that putting things into right perspective, we really need to just focus back to why, you know, well, what benefits are we gaining? And actually in this month, like, what is it that really is going to enable us to be following their example, the Ahlul Bayt? Because the fact is, like, we're sort of more ritualistic in a sense, and in a way where we're meant to be more practical in the way that we're meant to be progressing in it. And every year, if it's just we're repeating, it's a bit like prayers too. We can't say let's just ban prayers, because most of us just do kind of this, we go through the moves, but we're not actually gaining anything. It's not bad. Everything serves that's wajib, but it's an example. The example I was giving is that the purpose that something may serve, maybe you don't actually get from it what someone else will get from it.
And the purpose depends, like, within yourself, you know. Even if you know that maybe doing some sort of azadari does not suit others and it suits you, but if you don't do it, you feel, oh, you know, it's that time of the month and I have to go and, you know, show my support. You know, be it for marches or, you know, shedding tears or whatever it is, you know. If I don't, whenever there's, for example, a march, if I don't attend a march, I feel, oh my God, you know, Imam Hussein's, and I have to go, and I feel like I want to go.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I would feel that I would rather be in my house with two people, sisters who probably can't get to a majlis because they have younger children, and be in my living room, two people, and we go over it, and they're comfortable, and it means something to them. Or doing something with their teenagers, I don't necessarily want them to wear a t-shirt in this day and age saying, you know, the blah blah blah, Imam Hussein did this, because you're dealing with people that are quite hostile towards that, and it can draw attention. But I'd rather do something like, you know what, go into school and it's a hot day or it's a whatever. Buy 3 of your friends some water, and for the pleasure of, you know, Imam Allah and Imam Hussein, rather than going on marches, being very public with it.
But you do everything you can and can do. You know, if that is the way you can mourn for Imam Hussein and show you raise awareness, then you do it that way. I mean, little things like even when I'm for Ashura, you know, we get given days of absence, religious days of absence paid, and you know, I have some others. Muslims who don't take who take Hajj Eid off, and I don't take that because I save it for Ashura. And every time I fill my leave of absence and I say, oh, it is because it is Ashura, and I don't just stop there. I say it is the event when the grandson of the Prophet passed away, and I feel so much pride in doing that, because I feel whoever's going to read that will know more about Imam Hussein, and maybe that will invoke them to go and look up who this Imam Hussein was.
I did that once, and my boss was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I give you my sympathies. I was like, okay. You know, it's like she didn't know what to do with it.
Islam is at the moment we're questioning, okay, what does it mean to you, Islam, like, you know, the way of life that we have, and we need to look at the way that we're implementing our practices, like thinking, does this really, are we just sort of preserving a kind of, you know, I'm a part of this group, or is it that, you know, we're getting involved in community works to show that we're working towards uniting, as you know, unity is so important, and the message of Imam Hussein and actually, you know, the Ahlul Bayt, the greatest sacrifices they made is for Islam. So we need to start to live to reconnect to our deen. And a lot of us, it could be I think a distraction if we just focus just purely on rituals, because it's comforting to us, because we've grown up with it, and we find like Christmas.
That's how we want.
Many people don't believe in Christmas, or they don't even know, but they still go to church. But they don't actually, in their day-to-day life, they don't actually connect with God in any way. They just actually go through that, and they sing and they say all the things with the words, but it's actually, and they love that because it's
tradition.
It's tradition, and you just said it exactly, tradition. So let's see if the tradition of the reality is Imam Zaman, when he comes, inshallah, that we will realise that everything we've been doing is completely un-Islamic. So we need to really stop being emotional about, but I want that, this is my identity, I want to do this, I don't care if anybody else is offended by it. Actually, we need to really think about our sort of what it is that we're actually living for.
Do you know what I would love to see? Everybody that's really passionate about Azadari and like going to Majalis and Ashura and everything, and it's like a really passionate, and it's really good to be passionate about those things, but if they took that passion once a year and like gave maybe a week or even a day to try and find out something about Imam Hussein that doesn't involve Ashura, something before his life before Ashura, because like we kind of pigeonhole Imam Hussein to just that one day, and that's all we know, and you know, he lived a whole life before that, but we don't know anything about it.
I agree with you. I saw a wonderful thing, I don't know where it is, but they have majlises it's for everybody, but it's for people who their primary language is English, and they had an imam there who was very young, suited the audience there, and the whole thing was relayed in English, and I thought that was wonderful, because and it wasn't done late in the evening, so it didn't disturb anybody. It was in a residential area. But the neighbours actually appreciated that, and they got to know Imam Hussein because there wasn't cars blocking their cars. They were mindful when they left, you know, they were quiet, and it was in English so they could hear and understand it. Right. And it wasn't anything over the top. I'm basically saying express yourself. Nobody's saying that, but think about what you want to leave behind, the repercussions. And all the neighbours actually go around asking, well, when are you having Azadar? Because, you know, the young men that come are so respectful, and they, you know, ask me, do I need anything? Or afterwards, would you like to come? And here's food, what, you know. And I thought, that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
You know, so I'd like more English speaking, because we're so multicultural now, like some more English speaking majlises. And I would actually like the youth to be more involved. You know, like you have Guy Fawkes night, and you have people selling you apples and soups and giving them out. That would be great if we did that, not selling them, but giving them to people.
But a lot of mosques and communities do them. As you know, my mosque, we have 12 days of majalis, and we have an Urdu majalis, and we have an English majalis. So, you know, whatever speaking language you are, you attend those majalis.
But I also think it's where you feel comfortable as well.
And there's seminars held for children or youth, you know, to talk about things that they feel, you know, are important to them.
I think the issue is when majalis are done in English, that they're open for everybody, not just for people from that centre. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anywhere, and my mum's not Arabic speaking or anything. Her first language is English. So when she goes to like Arabic lectures, and usually the women are like gossiping themselves and talking and really loud, so my mum tells them to shush a bit so she can understand the lecture, and that happens so many times that now she's put off going to the Arabic lectures, even though she understands them. She can't hear it because everybody's talking so loudly. So that's when they set up the English majalis, and it's open to everybody, like whatever community you're from, however old you are.
I wanted to be a little bit selfish and share a story with you, and this is a blessing of Muharram. I was never into majlises, and in fact I was the type of person when they would say, you know, cry for them, I would start laughing because I was young. I was like, well, you can't force somebody to cry who doesn't know what's going on. So there was one Muharram, this is way too honest, I didn't want to go into the majlis, and the sister was like, it was her first majlis, she'd become Muslim, and she's like, I want to go. I was like, okay, why do I have to take you? So I took her, and it was amazing. I'm very English, we don't cry in public. Sorry. I couldn't stop crying, and the matches hadn't even started yet. I don't know what's wrong with me, but we just. I was so moved, and I thought, you know what? The only that wasn't for myself. That was, I was invited here, and I just didn't want to leave. I was like, oh, he's invited me, and my friend was looking at me like, are you okay? I was like, yes. So that was my breakthrough moment, and I really think it's important that before we step into majlises and stuff, we really ask Allah to open our hearts. And that was my thing. I was like, I don't feel connected to any of this. It's just lots of loudness. I'm not loud. There's lots of, you know, passion in there. I'm very quiet. I just want a cup of tea in the corner. And when I got invited by Imam Hussein, I felt like, you know, it was from him, because he wanted somebody like myself who was so on the outskirts and disconnected to be there. And my tears were genuine. You're going to make me cry, I refuse to. So I think it's intention, and if we keep thinking about the youth and the legacy of Imam Hussein, then we can only improve on it. But it's got to be more than words. Is there anything, what is your favourite part of the Azadari?
I think when, you know, you have the dua as well, and you have, you know, there's a lot of, again, I think the lectures as well as such, and also just the fact that everybody is, nobody stays hungry, especially when you think you have so much barakah in that month that people are cooking like such, and out of love. So the food of Imam Hussein, the food, okay, I've been honest, the food is the best bit, but it is actually one of the bits, because it's made from so much. But the blessing, the barakah from that is the fact that so many people actually just seem to come together and join in actually sort of sharing something that is that sharing actually of and nobody does, like I said, stay hungry, but also understanding there's something so special about that month that that, you know, it is that fact that even people who don't actually understand it, they won't be hungry either. The people, everyone gets fed. So the homeless, so there's something beautiful about that. I always remember in Iran. I mean, this is specific.
And it's how people treated my son. He, you could tell, was nervous, and treated him with so much love and gave him T-shirts. And one minute he's just on the stage. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he was so moved, and to see that amount of love, that nobody cared what colour he was, where he came from, did he speak the language, I was moved. So I knew that was from Imam Hussein. Any
I think for me it's so coming back to, you know, when you connect with Imam Hussein, I remember my first time when I cried. So we used to attend as kids majalises, you know, all the time, and we're there because our friends are going and our parents are going, and we get to, you know, it's a social thing. I remember the first time me and my cousin sat there, and all of a sudden there's tears flowing down our eyes, and I'm thinking, wow, this has happened to me, you know. Anyway, I remember specifically it was the bayan of Bibi Sakina alayhi salam, and how, you know, she had lost her father, and but the best thing is for me, holding a majalis at my house every year. I feel, you know what, it's getting too expensive, it's getting too tedious, and the cleaning after and before, and having to arrange all that, and you know, but then every year when it comes to that time and I'm thinking I'm not going to do it, I tell myself, no, you are going to do it, and it always happens.
It happens somehow.
Yeah, it happens.
Mashallah. I hope you've gained something positive from this. We're not asking you not to go to have azadaris and not to remember Imam Hussein. We're just asking you to maybe think out the box and do something that would touch somebody else like it touched me. I hope you've gained something from watching this episode. See you on the next side. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.